Jason Capel. Jason, thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.
Jason, are your brackets as destroyed as most of ours after this past weekend?
I ripped mine up and threw them away after.
I burned mine at a little bonfire in my apartment in Manhattan.
The right side of the bracket for most people looks okay.
Yeah, but it's that South region where the top 4 seeds are all gone.
And the West region ain't much better. Like the South and the West, the whole left side of the bracket, to hell with that.
What happened this week? Why did you think there were so many upsets?
I think there's so much parity now in college basketball. I think a big reason, there are over 800 transfers per year. So you have these kids that are highly recruited that are now transferring out.
Is that up? Because it seems like in the last 4 or 5 years.
It goes up every year.
Okay.
The kids, when they come in, they're highly rated. A lot of times they're promised things, doesn't work out. They're leaving earlier and going to different schools. That's how you have a school like Nevada. Nevada's top 2 players, the Martin twins, they're more highly rated than anybody from Cincinnati. So is that an upset? To me, it's not. You look at UMBC. Ernest Lyles originally was going to VCU. These are top 100 players that are now in a program with coaches that believe in them and teams built around them that they've waited for this moment. They're one-shining moment. They're a little hungrier. They play a little harder, a lot more connected.
I got a question. Are the parents more apt now to allow kids to transfer than ever before? Is it just the kids or the collective? Whoever are making the decision, something went wrong.
Everyone across the board, because it's not just college. This starts in high school. Kids are going to 3 and 4 high schools, playing for 3 and 4 AAU teams. This is an epidemic that translates and carries over to the college level. But that's why we have so much parity. I don't think these are upsets. I think these are older teams that are playing together with 1 or 2 top players that have transferred down to these universities. I don't think they're upsets at all.
Listen, the UMBC beating UVA.
That's an upset.
That's an upset, and it was a perfect storm. Right. It was. That's why I want to make the point. That was a perfect storm of everything. It was UVA style. It was UMBC. Totally one of the gutsiest coaching moves I've ever seen. Was their head coach at the half saying, "Hey, playing their way, slowing it down, mucking it up, has gotten us tied at the half. Guess what we're going to do in the second half as a 16 seed? Change it entirely. Run and gun, boys. Let it fly." And it ended up working out. So that's an upset. But as you mentioned, Nevada beating Cincinnati. The Syracuse beating Michigan State. Syracuse, I went there. We shouldn't have been in the tournament.
I agree with that.
We have no business being in the tournament.
Right.
All of a sudden, you play Michigan State. They're not used to seeing a zone. They go cold. And the other part of the inexperience factor that I think matters is for the higher-ranked teams, man, they get nervous. These are 19-year-olds playing in the biggest games they ever played in. As you mentioned, bounce around AAU teams, bounce around high school sometimes, and all of a sudden the pressure's on them. Well, there was the kids from Syracuse, like, their season was success the moment they got picked to make the tournament, much less won a couple tournament games. So is this going to be the new normal in your eyes?
I think so, and I think Leonard Hamilton, his quote after Florida State knocked off #1 in Xavier, he said this is a revolution. We put so many categories on what players are, what programs are, because of what conference they're in, but they're good players everywhere, just waiting for their moment. And you talk about UMBC. Look, I covered the ACC. Virginia dominated. They clinched the regular season with 2 weeks to go. Their defense suffocated you. For Coach Ryan Odom to spread it out, allow his guards, give them freedom to go make plays. They didn't run a lot of sets.
No.
He let his players make plays, and guard play is so vital this time of year. That was an upset. A great 16-over-1. It's never happened. A great game, and that's what makes this time of year so special.
Right, so you talked about the parity. You talked about teams getting transfer players. Let's talk about a team at the top, another #1 team, Villanova. Jay Wright, a friend of the show. Do you believe that their overall experience plays out in this tournament now that we've had all these upsets?
I think they're the best team in the tournament, with Duke being a close second. But I think the difference between the two teams, point guard play. I think Jalen Brunson is a stud. He's a guy that was player of the year. He controls the team. He's not flashy, but he gets the job done. He can make outside shots. And their team is so versatile. Interchangeable parts. They can switch 1 through 4. And I look at Mikal Bridges. He's turned himself into a lottery pick. This is a dangerous team. I heard you say earlier, they can play different styles. They can run with you. They can grind it out in the half court. And they have one of the best and best dressed coaches in all of college basketball as well.
We learned that. Let's talk about Kentucky. We talked about them. They complained early on that they were in a really tough region. It turns out they're in the best region they could possibly be in.
Absolutely.
Their path is suddenly wide open. Is this a different team than you've seen in years past from them?
It is, because they don't have that one star player. You think back to Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, John Wall, Boogie Cousins. They had guys, Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
They had guys that you could just roll the ball to and you knew what was going to happen. I think what you're seeing this year in Kentucky, they've grown together, they've gotten older together, and they're depending on one another. Coach Cal has done a masterful job. 3 weeks ago, they were in crisis mode.
Yes.
And now they're a team that's playing as well as possibly anyone with, as you said, a pretty good path to make it to San Antonio.
Also, there's a couple kids on Duke that they thought they were going to Kentucky. There's a couple other kids playing other. Like, this was not the golden crop of freshmen that Coach Cal normally has. Now, Coach had to coach these kids up because, as you mentioned, man, 2 weeks ago, they went, man, are we going to make the tournament?
Absolutely.
So you see their overall development. You see the upsets. Now, what do you think about Coach Cal and this collection of younger players trying to move on since there's been such chaos in that bracket?
I think he's done a great job. They defend. Again, they're trusting one another. This time of year, it's about being connected. How connected can you be as a team in a belief in doing one thing well? You have to be able to defend at this time of year. And they have a star. Make no mistake about it. Kevin Knox is a star. He's the prototypical player for this style of basketball we're moving to at all levels. A big guy can step out, knock down threes. Their guards are athletic. They get after you. They pressure the basketball. This is a team that's connected right now, and that's what's most important. And Cal has done a masterful job all season, but especially now that we're in March.
In a year where half of the 1, 2, 3 seeds are now gone, there's a 1 seed out there no one's talking about. The 1 seed that if people were picking a 16 to beat a 1, it was not UMBC over Virginia. It was Penn over Kansas. And by the way, Penn...
Well, that's because Nick also...
No. But that was also the only...
Every other people that were picking.
No. That's not true. Every other 1 seed was at least a 22-point favorite. Kansas was a 12-point favorite. They were down 10 early. But they overcame it. They won. Seton Hall was closer than they would have liked it to be. They overcame it and won. Kansas is the 1 seed. They did win the Big 12 for the 13th straight year in the regular season, which is remarkable. Why do you think no one is taking the Jayhawks as a serious championship contender?
They lost 3 games at home this year. That's something that doesn't happen when you go into the fall and you're able to knock them off. They don't have that star player that's the face of college basketball. They don't have the inside play, the hollow action that Bill Self loves to run. What they have is a great, not a good, a great point guard in Devontae Graham. He's tough. He's physical. His mindset breeds into the rest of that team. You see Malik Newman be able to step up in their last contest when Graham did not have a good game. Azubuike is an imposing force that's gotten better as the season's gone on. They're a solid team. They're a good team. And as I said about other guys, when you think of Villanova, they're connected. They play together. They believe in one another. And they also have a proven Hall of Fame coach that is pushing the right buttons this time of year. That matters. Guard play matters in March, and they have an excellent guard in Devontae Graham.
I know your eyes are shaded toward the ACC. We're all shaded from our past and everything and being a ball player there, covering the ACC. Who do you have more confidence in, Duke or Kansas?
Duke.
And why?
Because they have a special player and players up front in Marvin Bagley III and Wendell Carter. The difference in the two teams, Devontae Graham. He's a better guard, a senior guard versus a freshman in Trey Duval. But Grayson Allen's a senior that's won a championship. And he's a guy that can help you get over the finish line. He's led all year. He takes a back seat when he needs to. In my opinion,
he's
a little bit too much.
He's also the guy most likely to get punched, too.
But he hasn't. He hasn't. He's kept it tucked in. He's done a good job this year. He's leading, but they have special players that can put you on their back and carry you across the finish line into the winner's circle. Marvin Bagley III is proven he's the best player in college basketball. Don't overthink it.
Yes.
This is a special player that is going to only get better as he continues to grow into his body.
You mentioned Villanova. You're just talking about Duke. Is this tournament one of those two to lose?
In my opinion, yes. I think they're the two best teams. I think what Villanova has is experience. and point guard play, which means so much when you're talking about being a championship team. You think back to the last 2 championship teams. North Carolina won a season ago. Joe Barry's number is going to be in the rafters. You look back to Villanova when they knocked off North Carolina. Archie Diacono was a great point guard. Jalen Brunson was a young boy. So point guard play means a lot. Villanova has the best point guard in all of college basketball. That's the fine line that separates those 2 teams.
Plus, Syracuse going to knock off Duke now.
No, there you go. There you go.
Don't you even worry about that.
Duke has played against that zone
I know
before.
they have.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy
Thanks
the
for
rest
having
of
me.
the tournament. We appreciate it.
Great job.
More First Things First after this.
Duke plays their own version of it. Not quite the Syracuse zone, but they.
It's not.
You know what the other guys I